And hello, and welcome back to the channel. I am Bragi, and I am your host for the day. Now, today we are here, and I am here, to tell you another folk tale. And we all love a good folk tale on this channel, as I throw this massive club. And today's folk tale, you may be asking yourself, where does it come from, and what is it called? Well, today's folk tale is an old Swedish folk tale. And yes, you have heard it before on the channel, and it's called The Giant Fynn and the Building of Lund Church. Now, a long time ago, when our ancestors were alive, in the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, in the land of Sweden, in the mountains of Helgona, there lived a family of giants. And these were very old giants. And, well, the main giant of the family, well, his name was Fynn. And one day, Fynn was out. He had a massive club, as often giants do, and he was strolling through the mountains of Helgona in Sweden, the land of those Swedish Vikings. A very brave bunch of lads indeed. And he was out, looking in the woods, and he heard the tweeting of birds. And, well, being a giant, he could understand birds. And he could hear them saying and talking about a priest who had not long recently landed on the shores of Sweden. For he wanted the priest to go and build a church. And this was the first church to be built on Swedish soil. And well, the giant heard these rumours from the birds and the animals and the carrion. And at first, well, he was not very impressed. For our giant, well, he worshipped the old gods. And although he had heard of this new god and the white Christ, for him, the old ways were the way and the best way to go. Now at the time, the priest, he has a name, but for now, it is not important. He was out. And he was scouring the land, looking for the best land to go and build a church. And not just any church, but a super massive church. The biggest church that has been built for a long time. And he found the land, a very nice piece of flat land near the town of Lund. In fact, it was right next door. And Lund, at this time, in the early Middle Ages, was expanding. And Christianity and the followers of the White Christ had come to Sweden. And the priest, well, he put word out to all the people of the land of Sweden for anybody who could come and build the church. For payment, of course. And although a few men did come visit the priest, none of them could do the job he wanted. And well, this is where our giant Fynn comes into the tale, although we have already heard about him. He had heard about the priest wanting a builder, and just by luck, this giant used to be a builder, and he knew how to quarry and how to hew stone and how to build pillars. And so he went down into the valleys of Sweden, and there he met the priest. And at first the priest was astonished to see such a mighty giant of a man. Some say he was at least 10 foot tall. Some say he was as tall as a tree. On that we will never know. And after a while of talking, the priest and our giant Fynn agreed to build the church. And then the priest said, "Whoa, what? do you want for the price of payment?" And for a minute, the giant, he had a hairy chin, he stroked it. And then he said, I said, I want the moon and the sun for the price of building your church." Well, to this the priest could not have said. He said, I cannot give you the sun and the moon. They do not belong to me or the church. And at first the giant Fynn, well, he was very angry, for he wanted the sun and he wanted the moon, and neither of which he could have. And so he said to the priest, he said, "You must give me your eyes, for eyes are very important, and that is the price I want." Well, the priest was very upset by this. "I can't give you my eyes, I need my eyes." But in the end, they had no choice but to accept the payment. But the giant Fynn, he was a generous giant, and he said to the priest, the follower of the White Christ, "If you on the last day of building, before I lay and place the last stone, if you can guess my name, I will let you keep the price of your eyes, and I will build the church for free." Oh, to this the priest was very happy, and, well, they both shook hands and agreed. And so the very next day the giant Fynn, he went out of his cave where he lived high up in the mountains of Helgona, and he had the most enormous cow. Some people say the cow was as tall as a tree and 2 trees long. A big cow. Moo. And on the cow he got a big cart, and he went to a place where the giant knew he could quarry stone. And for weeks and weeks this is what he did. He quarried stone, he got a hammer and a chisel, and for days and days he hammered out all the shapes and all the blocks of stone he will need to build the church. And then once he had enough stone piled, he started to move them with his horse, so with his cow and cart. He did not have a horse. And so after a few more weeks of moving the stone to the site of where the giant Fynn was to build the church, he had enough stone and he started building. And what do you think he did first? Oh yes, he started to dig trenches, because let's face it, and we all know that every church needs sound foundations. And so he did this. He dug the trenches, he built the foundations, and then he built the floor with all nice stone slabs. And then came the pillars and the walls with room for windows. And then he started to build the roof, and gradually over days and weeks, the church took shape. Well, one day, towards the end of the time the church was being built, the priest went out for a walk. He was very worried. And you may be asking, well, why was the priest worried? Because he was afraid that he was going to lose both of his eyes, because he did not know the name of the giant. And so one day, whilst out in the mountains of Helgona, he was walking. And what do you think he heard? Well, at first he heard the sound of the birds and the animals and the wind. But then in the distance he heard a different sound. He heard a sound of a baby crying. Meow! Meow! And the baby was crying and not very good at making baby noises. And he was crying and kept on crying. And the priest kept on hearing the noise. And he kept on walking towards the noise until he came to a big cliff. And up the top of the cliff he could see a big entrance to a cave. well, we all know that giants like to live in caves, as do trolls. So beware of caves. And, well, he kind of climbs up a bit closer until he could hear a conversation between a giantess and a giant baby. The baby giant. And, well, he listened a while, and then he overheard the conversation. He said, "Don't worry, baby, don't worry, you must go to sleep." That was the voice of the giantess. "You must go to sleep, baby. Your father, Fynn, will be back soon." And at that very moment, the priest stood up, for he had just found out the name of the giant. This made him very happy, for he was afraid he was going to lose his eyesight, and he was having to walk to look at nature and the hills once more before his eyes were gone. But now he knew the name, and he rushed down to where the giant Fynn was building the church. And there on top of the spire was the giant, and he had one stone left to place in, and he was about to do that when the priest from down below shouted up, "Fynn, Fynn, I know your name. Now place the last stone in." Well, at this point the giant went crazy. Whoa! He threw a big stone down. It missed the priest by a few yards. The priest was rather shocked by that, and the giant tried to tear down the spire. He could not do it, and then he tried to tear down the pillars on the walls. For the giant, he had built the church so solidly and so tough, he could not tear it down. No matter what he did, he even got a large mallet and tried to knock down the walls and the pillars. But they was too tough. He had done such a great job at building this church. The giant Fynn could not put it down, and got no payment for building the church. And as for the priest, well, he was very happy. He had a church built for free, which saved the church money in coin, which was very grateful for. And I do believe that the cathedral in Lund is the same church. It is now a cathedral, and I'd one day like to go and visit it. And if you have been, well, let us know what it's like. We would like to know. And if you have enjoyed this folk tale, and we do love telling folk tales on this channel, then please take a minute and leave a comment. We'll be very grateful. And if you're new, then don't forget to go and click or tap the subscription button. By doing that, you'll be subscribed to our channel, which is awesome, and you'll love our content. So for now, it is me, Bragi, saying goodbye. Was hail, and ik thank thee, I thank you.